I'm Beatrice, and growing up in a small Ohio town, I always felt like I was born into the wrong family. My twin sister, Camila, and I were like chalk and cheese. She was the polished, perfect daughter who could do no wrong, while I was the one who'd rather doodle in a sketchbook than play the part of a proper lady. Our house was a shrine to my parents' vision of perfection. Dad, a community college administrator with a reputation to uphold, and Mom, a former teacher turned homemaker who could organize a dinner party with military precision. They had this picture in their heads of what a family should be: respectable, predictable, and above all, presentable. Camila fit that mold like she was born for it.
Me?
I was the square peg, always jamming up their well-oiled machine from as far back as I can remember. Home felt like a stage where I was always flubbing my lines. Mom would sigh every time I came downstairs in my favorite band t-shirt, my earbuds blasting indie rock to drown out her lectures. "Beatrice, why can't you be more like Camila?" she'd say, her voice sharp with disappointment, as if my ripped jeans were a personal attack. Camila, with her perfect ponytail and knack for saying the right thing, would flash a smile and chime in, "It's not that hard to put on a skirt and act nice, you know." I'd roll my eyes, biting back the urge to snap. It wasn't about the clothes. It was about feeling like I had to erase who I was to make them happy. One muggy summer evening, the tension boiled over. Dad was hosting one of his college faculty dinners, the kind where everyone wore stiff smiles and talked about budgets or curriculum over bland chicken. These events were torture, but attendance was non-negotiable. I decided to push back, just a little. I slipped on my favorite black boots, scuffed from sneaking out to local gigs, and smudged on some eyeliner that screamed, "Not your daughter." As I headed for the door, Mom caught me in the hallway, her eyes narrowing like I'd committed a crime. "You're not going like that, are you?" she asked, her voice dripping with judgment. I shrugged, my go-to shield. "What's wrong with it?" Her sigh could have filled a hot air balloon. "Beatrice, just once, can you try to fit in? Show some respect for your father's position." I felt my chest tighten, the same old argument bubbling up. Why does fitting in mean pretending to be someone I'm not? I shot back, louder than I meant to. Camila, always perfectly timed, glided in, her sundress practically glowing with approval. "Mom's right, Beatrice. It's not that hard to look the part. Why do you always make things so complicated?" I wanted to scream. Complicated? I wasn't trying to be difficult. I was trying to be me. But in our house, me was never good enough. Dad appeared at the foot of the stairs, his face a mask of disapproval. "Beatrice, change.
Now."
We leave in 10 minutes. His voice was calm but final, the kind that left no room for debate. I trudged back upstairs, swapping my boots for flats and wiping off most of the eyeliner. As we drove to the dinner, the car silent except for Dad's classical music, I stared out the window, the fields blurring past. In that moment, I made a vow to myself. One day, I'd live a life where no one could tell me who to be. One day, I'd be free. My room was my sanctuary, the one place in our pristine house where I could breathe. The walls were plastered with sketches, swirling landscapes and portraits I'd drawn late at night, and posters of bands I'd seen at hole-in-the-wall venues. It was my rebellion in four walls, a middle finger to the beige perfection of the rest of the house. But even there, I couldn't escape the pressure. One evening, as I was sketching to the beat of a gritty guitar riff, Dad barged in, his face set in that familiar frown. "Beatrice, turn that racket down. And why haven't you been studying with Camila? You've got finals coming up." I yanked out an earbud, trying to keep my cool. "I'm studying, just not with Camila. I do better on my own." He shook his head, like I'd just confessed to a crime. "Camila gets straight A's. You could learn from her. Why do you always have to make things harder than they need to be?" I clenched my pencil, the lead digging into my palm. Maybe I don't want to do things her way. Maybe I want to figure it out myself. He didn't answer, just pivoted to his next complaint. "And those kids you hang out with, I saw you at the coffee shop with them. They're not the right crowd. You should be spending time with the daughters of my colleagues. They're more suitable." Suitable. The word made my skin crawl. Suitable for what? For you? Because they talk about college rankings and fake laugh at your boring receptions. I snapped. Mom appeared in the doorway, her voice sharp as a knife. Beatrice, those girls come from good families. They know how to carry themselves. That's the kind of company you should keep. I stood, facing them both, my heart pounding. What if I don't want friends you pick for me? What if I want to choose my own path, my own life? Mom's eyes narrowed. Enough, Beatrice. Your father's worked hard to give you a future at the college. After you graduate, you'll need to think about settling down. We've discussed this. Settling down. It sounded like a cage door slamming shut. You mean being someone's wife, like Camila? Is that all I'm good for? Mom's face softened, but her words stayed firm. We want what's best for you. This path will give you a stable life. I laughed, bitter and hollow. Stable? Or just your version of perfect? The argument ended like it always did. Me retreating to my room, them retreating to their certainty that I'd come around. But I was done trying to fit their mold. A few days later, I was walking through town, my mind a tangle of frustration, when I heard the low growl of an engine. I turned and saw him. Jake, leaning against a cherry-red Mustang, his denim jacket patched with band logos, a grin that said he didn't care what anyone thought. You look like you could use a getaway, he called, his voice warm over the engine's rumble. I hesitated, glancing down the street toward home, then back at him. Something about his easy confidence pulled me in. Sure, why not? I said, my heart racing as I climbed into the passenger seat. The car roared to life, and as we peeled out of town, the wind tearing through my hair, I felt something I hadn't in years, alive. We ended up at a dive bar on the edge of town, the kind with neon signs and sticky tables. Over greasy fries, Jake told me about his life, fixing cars at his dad's old shop, restoring vintage Mustangs, living for the open road. It was so different from the suffocating world I knew, so real. You ever get tired of it? I asked, dipping a fry in ketchup. Living without a plan? He grinned, his eyes crinkling. Tired? Nah. It's freedom. You don't know what's coming, and that's the point. Better than being boxed in, right? I nodded, feeling a spark ignite inside me. For the first time, I saw a life beyond my parents' expectations, a life I could choose. Over the next few weeks, Jake and I were inseparable, sneaking out to cruise in his Mustang or watch sunsets from quiet back roads. Each moment with him chipped away at the weight of my family's expectations. He wasn't just a rebellion, he was a promise of something better, a life where I could be myself. One evening, as we parked overlooking a golden field, Jake turned to me, his eyes serious. Beatrice, I don't just drive to escape. I drive to feel alive. With you, every mile feels like it matters. My heart pounded as I leaned into him. I've never felt like this, Jake. You make me feel free. 5 months later, under a sky full of stars, Jake proposed, the Mustang's engine humming softly beside us. I said yes before I could overthink it, my heart screaming louder than my doubts. But there was one hurdle left, my parents. I knew they'd hate everything about Jake, his grease-stained hands, his easy grin, his life that didn't fit their blueprint. Still, love made me brave, and I decided it was time for them to meet him. The day I brought Jake home, he wore his usual denim jacket and a faded t-shirt, his hair tied back with a bandana. I loved that he didn't change for them. He was unapologetically himself. As we walked up the driveway, I felt Mom's eyes boring into us from the window. Inside, her face froze when she saw Jake, her voice barely a whisper. Beatrice, what is this? Dad, standing in the living room, didn't bother hiding his disgust. Who's this? And why is he dressed like he just crawled out of a garage? I took a deep breath, gripping Jake's hand. Mom, Dad, this is Jake. I love him, and we're getting married. The silence was suffocating. Dad's eyes narrowed, his voice like ice. Married? What do you do, young man? What's your plan to support my daughter? Jake stood tall, unfazed. I'm a mechanic. I've got my own shop, and I make an honest living. I love Beatrice, and I'll take care of her. Mom gasped like he'd confessed to a crime. A mechanic? Beatrice, you can't be serious. Dad's face turned red, his voice rising. You expect us to support this? To let you throw your future away for this? I felt my resolve harden. Years of their judgment fueling me. I'm not throwing anything away. Jake makes me happy. Isn't that enough? Dad's voice was cold as steel. If you choose him, you're choosing to leave this family. Don't expect our support. Mom's eyes welled up, but she didn't contradict him. Beatrice, think about the life you'll have, she pleaded. The life I choose. I shot back, my voice steady. Jake squeezed my hand, and I knew I wasn't alone. Then I choose Jake. I choose us. Dad's final words cut deep. Walk out that door and don't come back. As we left, the weight of their rejection settled over me, but so did a strange relief. For the first time, I was stepping into a life that was mine. Jake and I drove off, the Mustang's rumble drowning out the ache in my chest. That night, we stopped at a roadside diner, the neon sign flickering in the dark. Over coffee, Jake looked at me, his eyes searching. "You sure about this, Beatrice? No going back." I nodded, my hand finding his. "I've never been sure. This is where I'm meant to be." Life with Jake wasn't easy at first. We rented a tiny apartment on the outskirts of town, the kind with creaky floors and a leaky faucet, but it was ours. Jake worked long hours at a local garage, coming home with grease under his nails and a tired smile. I picked up shifts at a coffee shop while taking online courses in graphic design, determined to turn my sketches into a career. Money was tight, but every night, when we collapsed onto our secondhand couch, laughing about the day, it felt like we had everything. Jake's mom, Ellen, became my rock. She dropped by with homemade casseroles, calling me sweetheart and treating me like her own. Her warmth was a balm for the wounds my parents left, and she'd share stories of raising Jake alone, working night shifts as a nurse. "You two are good for each other," she'd say, her eyes twinkling. "You've got that spark my husband and I had." Her acceptance made me feel like I belonged somewhere again. Things started looking up when Jake took a course to become a specialized mechanic for high-end cars. His income jumped, and we saved enough to buy a small house in a quiet neighborhood, the kind with porches and kids riding bikes. I landed a job as a graphic designer for a local ad agency, pouring my heart into every project. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was real, built on our terms, not someone else's. Weekends were our escape. We'd take Jake's Mustang out to the winding roads beyond town, the engine roaring as we chased sunsets. With the wind whipping through my hair and Jake's hand on mine, I felt a freedom I'd never known. Those moments reminded me why I'd chosen this life, why I'd chosen him. We'd dream out loud, talking about road trips across the country, just us and the open road. One day, Jake would say, and I'd believe him, because with him, anything felt possible, but the past has a way of creeping back. One afternoon, Ellen came over, her face tight with worry. "Heard something on the radio," she said, stirring her coffee. "A scandal at the community college. Some administrator in hot water for misconduct." My stomach dropped. "Did they say who?" I asked, my voice barely steady. She shook her head. "Not yet, but it's all over the news." I turned on the TV, and there he was, my dad, his face on the screen as the anchor detailed accusations of inappropriate conduct with a student. I sank onto the couch, the room spinning. Jake came in, saw my face, and knelt beside me. "What's wrong, babe?" I could barely speak. "It's my dad. He's in trouble." Jake took my hand, his voice calm but firm. "I'm here, Beatrice. Whatever you need." I didn't know what I needed, not yet. The man who'd once controlled my life was crumbling, and I wasn't sure how to feel. All I knew was that Jake's hand in mine gave me the strength to face whatever came next. Months passed, and life settled into a rhythm of love and purpose. Jake and I welcomed a daughter, Lily, her tiny hands wrapping around my heart in a way I never thought possible. Ellen was over the moon, knitting tiny blankets and calling herself Grandma Ellen with pride. My days were filled with work, Lily's giggles, and Jake's steady presence. I thought I'd left my past behind, until one afternoon at work, when a familiar car pulled into the agency's parking lot. My parents. I hadn't seen them in years, and the sight of them hit me like a punch. Mom looked frail, her face lined with worry. Dad was a shadow of the stern man I remembered, his shoulders slumped. They spotted me through the glass doors, and Mom rushed over, arms outstretched like we were still family. I stepped back, grabbing Jake's hand as he appeared beside me. "Beatrice," Mom said, her voice breaking. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Dad didn't waste time. "I was accused unfairly," he said, his voice rough with bitterness. "Your sister's husband, some hotshot lawyer, refused to help unless we paid a fortune. Camila sided with him, and now they've cut us off. We need your help, Beatrice. A place to stay." I stared, disbelief burning in my chest. "Help? I said, my voice shaking. After you disowned me? After you told me I wasn't your daughter because I chose Jake. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We had nowhere else to go, she pleaded. They've turned their backs on us too. Dad's face reddened, his old temper flaring. You owe us, Beatrice. After everything we did for you. I laughed, sharp and cold. Oh, you? You threw me out because I wanted to live my life, not yours. And now you want to waltz back and like nothing happened. The parking lot was starting to draw a crowd, co-workers glancing over, but I didn't care. Mom's sobs grew louder. You're ungrateful, she said, her voice breaking. After all we gave you. Jake squeezed my hand, grounding me. I took a deep breath, my voice steady now. I'm not ungrateful, Mom. I'm happy. I built a life with Jake, with our daughter. You made your choices, and I made mine. Live with them. I turned away, Jake's arm around me, as Dad shouted something I didn't catch. Jake leaned toward the security guard nearby and murmured, "Make sure they don't come back." That was the last time I saw them. Part of me ached for the family we could have been, but the stronger part, the part that had fought for this life, knew I'd made the right choice. Lily's laughter, Jake's love, Ellen's warmth, that was my family now. We kept building, kept dreaming, kept living. Our house was filled with sketches, car parts, and love, and every mile we drove together felt like a victory. A to everyone who's ridden along with this story. Thank you. You've walked with me through heartbreak, rebellion, and the kind of love that sets you free. If my journey hit you in the heart, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every mile we travel tells a story of fighting for who you are and building your own home. Keep chasing your freedom, and I'll see you on the open road.